Everybody, welcome into this special live edition of the Pack-A-Day podcast. I'm joined by Perri Goldstein because why would I not be joined by Perri freaking Goldstein? Because the Packers are going to the freaking playoffs. Perri, unfortunately, the Packers ruined their draft position. I'm just kidding. This is amazing. Let me just get your vibe right off the start because this was an awesome night.
My vibe. The Green Bay Packers are going to the playoffs in a season that we didn't know. They're playing with house money right now. I feel great. Jordan freaking Love, first year as a starter. Rodgers didn't do it. Favre didn't do it. But Jordan Love did it.
You've got some receipts from the initial the Cheesehead TV live draft party when Jordan Love was selected, and you were vibing back then and back in 2020.
Thank you, Andy, for pointing that out, because I would just like to say I'm an OG lover of this draft pick. There is video evidence of it. I always felt like there was just a little something there with Jordan. I feel very vindicated right now. I could pull out the receipts. I still might. I am a classy lady, so I let the play speak for itself. However, yeah, he is. We have our franchise quarterback, and we didn't even need to go through a season of purgatory to figure it out.
It's stupid. It is beyond stupid.
So ridiculous.
I don't care what anyone says, and even after giving you your flowers, nobody in the world could tell me that they expected this out of Jordan Love in their very first season. What he has done this year, even just through the course of the season, not from rookie season until now, not from, oh, he looks nice in Philadelphia till now, from mid-season until now, the exponential growth. I asked him in the press conference. He didn't want to give a date or a time. I asked him in the presser if there was a game or a time or a moment that the game started to slow down. He just said sort of game by game, kind of gave a little bit of a cliche answer, but the game has literally slowed down for him as the season has gone along. I pointed out, and somebody tweeted this at me today, I sort of forgot about it, but I pointed out after the Chiefs game of like, that was the game where it was prime Aaron Rodgers-esque, where every time, like on the TV copy, you're watching it and he throws the ball and you obviously can't see downfield of what's going to happen, but you just had that level of trust that when the ball left his hand, something good was going to happen. And that has been for weeks now, that every single time the ball leaves his hands, it doesn't matter if it's going to Bo Melton or Romeo Doubs or Davion Wicks or Luke Musgrave or Tucker Kraft or Aaron Jones. It does not matter. It is going to the right spot at the right time for the right reasons. It is insane.
Yeah. And not for nothing. I mean, he's had a few turnover-worthy plays that haven't turned into turnovers, but in that stretch of time, he's only had one interception. He has been, I mean, obviously he had the fumble today, but aside from that, he's been nearly perfect down the stretch. So I don't know if we can ask for much more than what he's given us. I mean, even just tonight, right? 27 of 32, 316 yards, 2 touchdowns. And he should have had 2 more that were called back. So,
but like with the two touchdowns that were called back, I just want to also put that into context because yes, he should have had 4 touchdowns on his ledger, but also 27 of 32 should have been 29 of 32 with 2 more touchdowns on the ledgers. 29 of 30 freaking. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, yeah. And I think we talked a little bit before you and I went live, but there was a point in the season where I don't know if as fans, we knew where the season was going to go. And it's not to say that Jordan was bad. Like the offense as a whole was just not clicking in the way that we're seeing they were now. But there was a lot of growing pains happening, a lot of shooting themselves in the foot, a lot of confusion. And Jordan was doing the best he could with what was given, but they were 2-5 at one point in the season. And now he has led this team because I think as a quarterback, you do get some of, it's a team effort, right? Everyone does their 111, but I think as a quarterback, you get to accept, some of the successes more so than some other players on offense. And he has led this team to a playoff berth in his first season as a starter. Like he has accepted a leadership role on a very young team and turned around a very sub 500 team to now an above 500 team going to, yes, the 7th seed, but to the playoffs. It's pretty remarkable. And like, I know it's not stats and it's kind of hard to quantify in a way, but even in this game, and it's been this way throughout, he is unflappable. Big moment, doesn't matter. It could be 1st and 10 or a game on the line. He is poised. He looks the same. He is unfazed. I mean, he stared down the Bears defense on that last 3rd down and was like, I'm converting this. I don't care what the moment is. The moment just is not too big for him. And those are the intangibles that you want in a franchise quarterback, someone who doesn't get rattled in big moments, because they are about to go and have yet another huge game on the road. Are the lights going to be too bright? I'm not worried, right? There are going to be huge underdogs, of course, but I'm not worried that the moment is going to be too big for Jordan. And again, that's huge.
As Mike McCarthy would say, they're nobody's underdogs. Like I'm so excited. Like you said, they're playing with house money. I cannot wait for this game. It is going to be so fun. And I'm so glad that you brought up not just Jordan's stats, but his leadership as well. Unflappable, unfazed, whatever you want to call it. Just that calm, steady approach. That was something that showed up big time on his scouting report as well. Even just that his junior year that didn't go quite as well at Utah State. And he was just the same guy every single week, same guy down in and down out. That's been something that's been there since day one, as Matt LaFleur said, in a very funny way. He's made of the good bleep. He's been freaking incredible. Let's get to some super chats really quick. First of all, Michael, thanks so much for becoming a new YouTube member. For all of you out there, 487 of you in the chat. If you haven't checked it out yet, make sure to do so. Slim Lewis, as much as I love Jaden Reed and as much as I love your comments and as much as I appreciate the super chat, Puka Nacua and others do exist in this world. So I can't go quite as far as to say Jaden Reed should win Rookie of the Year. It doesn't matter. I don't care if he's in that Rookie of the Year. Like, he missed a bunch of games. He's freaking awesome. And as I tweeted through the course of this game, he's in that, oh, we need a big play. Let's go to Jaden Reed, sort of stratosphere right now. I'm not saying that Rodgers Jordy is the new, Jordan Love, Jaden Reed. I'm not there yet. I'm not saying that Rodgers Adams is the next, or is Love to Jaden Reed, but it already feels like when Jordan needs something, and when this Packers offense needs something, it's, let's find a way to get it to Jaden Reed. I'm so freaking excited about this guy.
He is a certified playmaker, certified weapon. I think at first I was like, oh, sick. They got a really fun slot guy. That's awesome. Like, they don't have a slot guy. He's not just a slot guy. He does everything. And we even saw it tonight. And I watched Matt's presser, and Matt said that final, like, huge 50-something yard play, Jaden wasn't even a read. Yeah. that was totally unscripted by the two of them. So just really fun. Yeah, really fun.
I actually want to touch base on that. I know we just went on a literal love fest with Jordan Love already, but it's worth also noting the unscripted plays, the Tucker Kraft play that you mentioned at the end of the game, the Jaden Reed play. It's one thing if it's like, we are not talking, oh, he's a good game manager. He's like, he manages the game. Like, no, like this is big time stuff. This is big time stuff. He's making.
Yeah. Also, on top of that, I'm going to keep going here because he's also doing some crazy vet level stuff. Like, we talked about the cadence in the off season. He's got the cadence going. He's making checks at the line. He's like checking into the second read plays. Like, he is full command of this offense, full command. And like, say what you want about, everyone's talking about, oh, he had to sit for 3 years. He had to sit for 3 years. Maybe other teams need to start taking like a little bit of the Packers playbook when it comes to quarterbacks, because clearly sitting for 3 years taught him a thing or two about playing quarterback, because there's things that he can do that he learned, right? Watching. And I'm not talking about watching Aaron Rodgers. I'm just talking about like watching how games run. And yeah.
He turned 25 2 months ago. Like, there are going to be college quarterbacks that are going to be drafted at age 24 this year, probably 25, knowing like just how that works now. But it is absolutely incredible. And I'm glad you brought that up as well. I was going to go there as well, of like the plays where he is going hard cadence to get the defense to tell what they're doing and then checking into a better play. And if I would be scared crapless if I were Minnesota, Detroit, and Chicago again, like they have to be going into these primetime games
Oh no.
Am I back? Or are
You're
you
back.
back? All right.
You're back.
Anyway, so when Jordan Love is tearing things up on Thanksgiving, when he's tearing things up on New Year's Eve, when he's tearing things up on the final game of the season, if I were an NFC North team fan coach, I would be scared crapless of some of the stuff he's doing right now.
Yeah, it's so funny you just said that because Maggie, co-host, friend, Pax what she said, just sent me his 4 best games this season as a starter. You want to hear his 4 best passer rating games?
I do.
128.6 versus Chicago, 125.5.
This one I'm assuming 120. This Chicago game
versus Chicago, like at Chicago. 125.5 at Detroit. 125.3. Sorry, versus Chicago. This at Lambeau. 125.5 at Detroit. 125.3 at Minnesota. 123.2 at Chicago.
He runs best the North. Unbelievable. All right, Dan McGill. Greetings from Glasgow. My football soccer team blast. Kelly FC Blast just can't get enough by Depeche Mode whenever they win. After that win, I'm blasting that at 1:47 a.m. Cheers and go Pack go. Cheers. Do you have a victory song in your household, Perri Goldstein? No, I don't have a victory song. I definitely have a victory pizza, but I don't have a victory song. So I gotta find a way to get a victory pizza in here tonight for sure. Natalie, dude, Tucker Kraft has literally become a top flight tight end in a matter of like 10 weeks. His improvement is remarkable. I'll let you start with Tucker Kraft, PG.
Oh my God. Okay. I am a very early stock owner of Tucker Kraft. By early, I mean, I literally took him in both of my dynasty drafts this year, not the fantasy, but you know what I mean? I just love his attitude. Like, everything that he did at South Dakota, but more importantly, that he stayed at South Dakota, right? He could have transferred. He could have gone to a bigger school, but no, he decided to stick it out with his team. Tight end is notoriously a really difficult position to transition into the NFL. Like, we knew this. We knew that Luke Musgrave was a little bit more of a finished product and that he was going to be able to contribute earlier. And to watch Tucker not only develop at the speed in which he has, but to step up when Luke has gone down, amazing. Blocking is probably the biggest one. There was a play in this specific game, Andy. I couldn't remember if it was, I think it was against the Raiders earlier this year where they had him move across the formation. I think he was meant to like block Max Crosby and he totally whiffed on it. Yep. And he did it in this game and he was supposed to block one of the Bears rushers and he mauled him. And I was like, look at you go, look at that development right in front of our eyes. And like, that has been, I mean, this Packers team, like to a T, I think, just like a perfect descriptor of them, but it's been really fun to watch him. And he's always been a little bit more of that move, like pass catcher and like, easier. And the blocking was the difficult piece of his game. But that to me tonight, that was the key to his development. I'm super pumped about him. And maybe he broke the 3rd round curse. Who knows?
Oh, he did break the 3rd round curse. Although I guess it's possible that, Sean Ryan, if he becomes really good, technically could have broke it sooner. But because he was the 3rd round pick before him, but Tucker Kraft is, he's playing at a whole nother level. I've told this story enough where I'm sure people are sick of it by now, but it was one of the very first practices. They were going through blocking drills and Kraft did something wrong on a play. And his coach was about to tell him, hey, you did this. And he's like, yep, I did this wrong. And like, he knew it immediately and he wanted to go and run it back and do it again so he could do it the right way. He's at that attention to detail. When Matt LaFleur talks in his press conferences that this rookie class is just all about football and it's what they eat, sleep, and breathe. And they just want to keep getting better. And that's what he was really confident in, even when they were 2-5 earlier this season. I think those are the little things that you see. There are players on this team that have made like just insane. Like, I think we forget that this is a team that Jordan Love was doing QB sneaks into his own offensive line because of a missed check. Like there were guys running into the same spot over and over. Like there were simple stuff that could not get executed early in the season. To be a pretty impressive, well-powered machine on offense right now, again, with all this youth, it's exhilarating to say the least. So lots and lots and lots to celebrate. And Natalie, again, thanks for the chat. Fenrir, Jordan Love came back from the future of being an MVP quarterback in one season, and he didn't need a DeLorean. Time slowed down. All right. Appreciate the chat. I think we've probably waxed poetic enough about Jordan Love already, but safe to say Perry and I are both ultra impressed with where he's at. Lou Malnati, my favorite Illuminati member, I guess. Hell yeah. Go Packers. Thanks so much for the chat. Hope you're celebrating and having fun wherever you're at. Michael, next week is just extra gravy for a great year, and it could just become icing. I don't know if we put icing on gravy, Michael. I'm not with you on icing for gravy, but I'm with you in the sentiments. To me, they're going to get playoff experience, and that is so important for this young team. And even if it's this week that they get a little bit of comeuppance is the wrong word, because it's not like they've done anything wrong. But if they have to learn some hard lessons this week, and that's what this is, they got an extra week of practice. They won 3 huge games and 3 must-win situations to get into the playoffs. They learn what playoff pacing and playoff style is like. They're going to come back more. And I'm not saying like this is a foregone conclusion. Like I said, they're nobody's underdogs. They're going to go out and compete in this game. I think they can beat Dallas in Dallas legitimately. I'm not saying I'm going to pick them. I'm not saying they're favored, but I'm saying they can absolutely do it. But overall, like, this is an awesome, tremendous experience for this team. And I'm so happy. And whatever happens from here to some extent is icing on the cake, if not gravy.
Yeah, that's why I said they're playing with house money now. Like, this win, ending the season above 500, all that is amazing. The goal of this season was, is Jordan Love your guy? I mean, all of that. Even Matt said today, the questions are all answered. Yep. Yeah, no more questions. Now you get all this extra experience for a young team that you weren't expecting to have. And I think going into a playoff atmosphere on the road is absolutely amazing experience for this team. Even if they get blown out, who knows? It's still going to be learning. And, you know, you go back to something Jaden Reed said at the beginning of the season, which was either it's going to build us or it's going to break us. And I think they've shown that every experience, negative or not, is a building opportunity. And this is another building block for what should be now much higher expectations for 2024, right? And they'll know what the playoffs feel like, because that's going to be the expectation now in 2024.
Yeah, that's so fun. That's like just a fun thing to say. Like, now this is the expectation. This is the floor for this team. Like, newsflash. And I'm not saying that like things can't go awry, but this should be the worst that this team is for the foreseeable future. They're going to have salary cap space clean up. They're going to have 5 picks in the top 100 next year. Yeah. Like, they should continue to get better, which is another scary thought. Now, I think a couple of these teams, the Bears and the Lions, are going to continue to get better in the NFC North as well. There's always going to be new teams that step up. As Matt LaFleur will say over and over and over, every game and every week and every season is a new challenge. It's a new team. So you don't crown anything. It's not like they just have a free ticket to the playoffs next year, but let's just say things are trending in the right direction.
Absolutely. And you're so right in that, like, this is kind of the floor. Right? Like, I mean, you're going to get 40 million in cap money back. You still have a bunch of picks high. You can add a lot of talent, and already the talent on this team. This is like, chemistry wise, this is the worst they're going to be together. The relationships between him and Jaden Reed only going to get better. The relationship between Jordan and Christian Watson only going to get better. Right? There's still plenty of questions, especially when it comes to the defensive side of the ball and maybe some of the older vet players that they have to make a decision on. But like, the core of this team, this is the floor, which is so awesome.
Totally agreed. Matthew, thanks for the chat. What's your feelings on left tackle? Is Walker the future? I'll put it this way, and I've said it a few different things. I'm 1,000,000% comfortable with Rasheed Walker starting at left tackle for however long they need him to. That's number one. He has proven himself, in my opinion. Number two, they should feel extremely comfortable, even if Yash leaves, even if John Runyon Jr. leaves in free agency, if Bakhtiari can't play next year, that they have right now Rasheed Walker, Elton Jenkins, Josh Myers, Sean Ryan, and Zach Tom going into next season. If they need to start those 5 left to right as their starting 5 offensive linemen, they should feel very good about that going into next season. And the last thing I'll add is I still want more depth and competition all over. To me, Elton Jenkins and Zach Tom are your two guys that are going to be your legitimate, no questions asked starters. I would love competition for Rashid. I'd love competition for Josh. I'd love competition for Sean Ryan, and see how that plays out. Do I think if they would draft a player and Rashid had to go one-on-one, I'm assuming it's not like a top 10 draft pick or something, that Rashid's probably just going to win that out? Yeah, I do think Rashid probably wins that out, but more competition, more depth. As long as they protect Jordan Love, we know that even with a slew of rookie and second year players, practice squad guys, that he's going to go out and perform. Just keep protecting them. So keep building that offensive line and keep that depth and competition coming.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I will say though, I don't know if you saw it, but David Bakhtiari had a nice Instagram post today.
I did not.
Oh yeah, you're not on Instagram. Bakhtiari posted today rooting for his guys, and very much sounded like he planned on staying Green Bay Packer. So that'll be a fun one to watch in the offseason. Again.
Yeah, that's one of those, like I've said for a while now, like I'm just compartmentalizing that to the side.
Oh, yeah.
And if he can play and he's back and he's like awesome, like no questions asked, we can figure that out, because I don't think he can figure that out. I don't think the Packers can figure that out. I don't think anyone can figure that out at this point. And I certainly don't think you can bank on anything with him, but if he's there and he's starting, awesome. He's one of the best left tackles of all time, in my opinion.
And you're right. The key here is simple. Protect the QB, and whoever does that best gets the start.
They got the QB. Just protect that guy. Bubble wrap him. You can't bubble wrap him, so you got to just build as many awesome offensive linemen as you can to protect them as long as you can. How many quarterbacks would you take over number 10? Not many. I don't think Perri and I need to go through and list any of them. I don't like Jordan Love's the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, and I am very satisfied and satiated with that. I have no other thirst. I am good with number 10 being the quarterback for the foreseeable future, period. End of story.
Amen.
All right. Illuminati, thanks so much for becoming a new YouTube member. Really appreciate that. And Tron God, thank you so much for the very kind gesture. Just on Nag Show, same sentiment. Rookies. Holy bleep. Go Pack, go. This rookie class, Perri. This rookie freaking class. I'll let you go.
Yeah, man. I mean, and it's not just, hey, look, it's fun to look at the offensive side of the ball, right? And say, like, yeah, Jaden Reed, and, you know, obviously Luke Musgrave was hurt, but he had, like, his one catch, and it was great to see him out there. And we just went over Tucker Kraft, but, like, Lucas Van Ness had a huge sack, and Carl Brooks had a huge game. And, like, from start to finish, this rookie class has stepped up. Goot just smashed it out of the park this season. And again, it's part of it is opportunity, but not every guy always gets the opportunity and does something with it. And at every level, you know, you look at your 7th round pick in Carrington Valentine, who's starting on the boundary and makes the most of the opportunity, almost has a pick tonight. So huge, if nothing else, huge PBU in the end zone to keep the Bears from getting a touchdown. So everyone, no matter where they were drafted, everyone in this class has made a huge impact play to get them to where they're at. And that's saying a lot for a rookie class.
I just didn't like the Lou Nichols pick. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding.
Where are you going with this?
I'm totally messing. Lucas Van Ness, round 1. He's trending in all the right directions. Luke Musgrave, round 2. Jaden Reed, round 2. Tucker Kraft, round 3. Colby Wooden, by the way, I just want to say something about Colby Wooden. He grades well for me every single time, almost every single time he's in the game. He doesn't get much playing time. I think if he played a bunch, he would not grade as well. I don't think he's quite ready for that yet, but he battles every single time he's in there. I know he doesn't get a ton of PT, but I really like the way he plays. You got a backup QB in Sean Clifford in round 5, Davion Wicks in round 5, Carl Brooks in round 6. Anders Carlson, we might have to talk about a little bit more in just a little bit. That's an interesting one. Carrington Valentine in round 7, Anthony Johnson Jr. in round 7. Grant Dubose got called up. Unfortunately, he was not activated. Didn't think it would have mattered in this one anyway. And then, of course, the Lou Nichols, just a bust of a draft pick in round 7. How dare you, Goot? How dare you, Goot? But what a freaking draft. It's a huge reason.
Can we take a second to talk about Davion Wicks? Can we just give it a moment? Because we haven't talked about him at all. Because
yeah.
First of all, you don't expect a rookie receiver unless they're a very special first round prospect to have some of the skills that he has, right? Let alone a 5th round pick. Like his ability to separate and some of his moves off the line are light years ahead of what a rookie should look like. I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know. I just think like, well done to the scouts. I don't know what else to say about it. He is incredible. I mean, he had like 4.5 yards of separation on his first touchdown tonight. And then his second touchdown, he absolutely just like bodies people and is like, yeah, no, this is going to be a touchdown. I'm going to make it into the end zone. It's unbelievable. And then you realize what this game tonight meant to him, right? The birthday of one of his friends who unfortunately passed away, and how much he was carrying, and he channels all of that emotion into his play on the field. It's so mature. It's amazing. I'm out of words for Davion Wicks.
I want to give you a name really quick here. I just want to pull something up really, really quick because I think this is really interesting. Give me 1 second. I'm so close. All right. So Davion Wicks, 5th round pick, drafted 159 overall. I'm going to talk about another 5th round pick, drafted 146 overall. This 5th round pick in his first season, 52 catches, 720 yards, 4 touchdowns, a 13.8 yard average. Davion Wicks in his first season, somewhere around here. Where did it go? 39 catches, 581 yards, 14.9 yards per catch, 4 touchdowns. Did not play the full season because of some injuries. And was a sort of a part-time player in there. Similar style of player, Stephon Diggs is who I am talking about.
Really?
Very similar style player coming out of college. Had some similar comps coming out. Route running separation extraordinaire. I know there's the Davante Adams talk and like things like that. I'm not saying he's going to become Diggs. I'm not saying he's going to become Adams. I'm saying I love this dude. He separates incredibly well. He has a similar 5th round trajectory that had that same style of wide receiver coming out of college for Diggs. It's a very interesting comp, and it's one that I'm here for. And I think the world of this guy, and I think he's only going to get better over time.
Yeah. And like, again, we talk about the relationships that they're developing with this quarterback. And I just feel like Wicks and Love somehow find the big play every single game, multiple times a game. They just have this feel for, and Wicks has this like nice feeling for finding like the soft pieces of the zone. And Jordan's like, fine, yeah, I'll get you the ball. You've got no defenders within 4 yards of you. That's easy. But they've also developed a like really nice relationship. It's very clear. They have so many weapons. How did they go from like big question marks at wide receiver to like we're forgetting about all the weapons to talk about? We haven't even talked about Bo Melton.
Haven't talked about Bo Melton yet. And it is going to be interesting to see how they feed these mouths moving forward, because this is not going to be an easy task. They have a ton of guys that are really freaking talented. I said it last week. I will say it again right now. Bo Melton, not a flash in the pan, not some just like, oh, it's a cool practice squad story that they, found and he had a couple nights. No, he's really freaking good. He's really freaking good. He is impressed enough already to garner enough attention. And he might be 5th, 6th, 7th on their depth chart. And that's not even including Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave, Aaron Jones. That's just that wide receiver. And that's where he's at right now. It is an embarrassment of riches. They're all young. They're all super cheap. They're spending what is it, like 12 million? It's $12. They're spending $12 on offense, basically.
Yeah. It's crazy.
The most of their money is still going to Aaron Rodgers, I think. So Kevin, love how Kraft can engage and sell the block and then break into his route too. That's the big thing. There's always going to be a little bit of a difference between a traditional tight end and a guy like Luke Musgrave, who you're almost treating as a wide receiver, where you're like, oh, if he blocks, okay, but I'm not super worried about it. With Tucker Kraft, it's like, all right, he's blocking well enough that you have to honor him as a legitimate blocker where they can run behind him and it can be a problem. And then when you have to start honoring that, that's when you get those leak plays where he's, running wheel routes on the outside, or he's just running into the flat off of whatever it is. when you have the ability to be honored as a blocker, it changes everything. And right now, and I actually saw some good things out of Luke Musgrave as a blocker in this game that I liked as well. I'm excited to go back. I know he didn't play a ton, but I'm excited to go back and watch this closer of him. But man, like I know we're just excited tonight. I get it. It's all good vibes, but I don't know how you can't be excited about these two tight ends.
Yeah. And it's crazy too, because like, again, we as Packers fans have not had even one tight end of this caliber in a long time. And now all of a sudden there's potentially two in an offense where we know Matt LaFleur loves his two tight end sets, loves to have, 12 personnel all the time. And he even said today, again, in his presser, I keep coming back to it because he had so many good nuggets in it, but he's like, I'm so excited for when we get both these guys on the field together healthy. Like, you can tell he has so many plays dialed up for the two of them. So there's even more that we haven't seen yet.
Natalie, I hate the Bears. This was the funnest game in a few years. It feels different. House money at this point. Future is bright. I know in my heart of hearts that Bears fans are not going to learn their lesson, and they're still going to talk ungodly amounts of smack in the offseason. But my goodness, does it not feel amazing to know that they talked so much smack all offseason, and then the Packers just punched him in the face week 1. There was still so much smack. What are we going to rename Lambeau Field once the Bears take over after this game? And the Packers win again and punch them in the mouth to get in the playoffs. The Bears could have knocked them out. The Bears could have knocked them out of the playoffs. The Lions did a season ago. You know who didn't? The Chicago Bears. Like I said, I'm sure they're going to talk ungodly amounts of smack in their next QB, and they're going to take over and everything. Have fun. It doesn't matter. The Packers are better once again. Matt LaFleur is undefeated against Chicago. The Packers actually have their franchise quarterback and aren't deciding what to do at quarterback this offseason. What a fun day.
Still waiting for DJ Moore's surprise.
It was under 200 total yards of offense was the surprise. Oh, yeah. Surprise. Okay. Even we can't put up yards against Joe Barry's defense. That's the surprise. That was the surprise of the day, is that we found the one offense that cannot do anything against Joe Barry's defense, who, by the way, we should talk about, had a awesome day. And I mean, listen, as I said last week, if we're going to be dicks to Joe Barry when he does not do well, and I'm saying it facetiously. When there's criticism earned, it's deserved. And there was criticism for this defense for the vast majority of the season. And I have no regrets towards that whatsoever, but I also want to be super praiseful when they do things right. And we can talk about, well, the Vikings and Bears offenses just aren't that good. You're right. I get it. I'm not crowning anyone. I'm not saying that Joe Barry deserves a new 10-year deal. I'm not saying any of that. But the defense played freaking awesome today. They limited it to 9 points. A lot of those very long field goals that Santos had to make. And they, even when Green Bay's offense had their bizarro moments and couldn't get points and had the snafu before halftime, this defense did not let Chicago get any traction. They stopped the run. They stopped Justin Fields, multiple sacks. Should have had a Carrington Valentine pick. Actually, I think that technically probably should have been a Chicago Bears touchdown based on how open the receiver was, but then it should have been a Packers pick. But a really nice job by the Packers defense. Yeah,
I mean, you have to give them their flowers when they play well. Again, holding, I think, any NFL offense to 9 points is an amazing accomplishment. Especially, I mean, you look at the Vikings game and it's like, yeah, you're playing a third string quarterback. Like, you should dominate them. You're playing this first string offense, right? Like, you held them to 9 points. That's phenomenal. I think this team, this defense in particular, like the way the front goes is indicative of how the rest of this defense plays. And when the front is playing the way they played against the Bears, this defense is going to play well. And they were getting pressure all day. They were playing the way that, Andy, we always talk about that we know that they can play. They've got a bunch of like awesome, dominating dogs up front. They don't always play that way, right? Sometimes they lose their rush lanes and they don't keep their, integrity, and they don't set the edge appropriately. They did all the things right tonight. And when one guy, maybe couldn't get home, they have enough dudes up front now where someone is always going to be able to get home. And you saw it because they had, 5 sacks on Justin Fields tonight?
There's at least 5. Yeah, I know they had
5 sacks, 10 tackles for losses because, if Rashawn's getting double teamed or held up, and then Preston can get in there, and JJ Anibari can get in there, and Kenny can get in there, and Devontae Wyatt can get in there. And, and it's just they played like a cohesive unit tonight, and it makes everyone else behind them their day just a little bit easier. And you saw a nice day again from Quay and Dre, and then the secondary didn't really have to do much. I did think that Justin could pass the ball well when he was passing the ball but when the Packers played man, they couldn't do anything. And they stopped the run really well. Just all of it was great. It was the definition of bend, don't break, but they bent and they kept them to 9 points. Win.
Yeah, 11 of 16 for 148 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, 5 sacks for Justin Fields on the day. I think he was either 7 of 8 or 8 of 9 at one point. So the Packers defense started to get a little bit tighter as the rest of the game went on, especially in that second half. And listen, there were times at halftime where like Green Bay had a lot of missed opportunities. The Anders Carlson missed field goal, the snafu before halftime. You're wondering like, man, we've all been there before. Like these have been things where the Jordan Love fumble, like those things usually come back to bite Green Bay. And again, I think the defense deserves a lot of credit to say, no, we're not going to allow this Bears offense to do anything less than 200 yards. They stopped the run. I think they deserve a ton of it. I mean, the 5 sacks, I think at least 3 of them were on third down plays as well. Justin Fields, 8 carries, 27 yards rushing on the day, only 3.4 yards per rush. And obviously a lot of that scrambling, but that's huge. Khalil Herbert, 12 carries, 28 yards. They did everything they needed to do defensively to win this game. And Green Bay's offense got enough points and they go to the playoffs because of it.
Yeah. And realistically, I mean, it should have been 31-9 because
if that, yeah. And I mentioned last week, that the Steelers game on offense, I don't know if I think we talked after that game. I could be wrong, but I know I talked after that game and said that was a game. I know they lost, but I thought there was a lot of positive things to take away from the Packers offense on that day. And I know it didn't end up in a ton of points, but that was where I felt like something clicked for the offense. And I'm like, I think there's a lot of things that they can repeat from this moving forward that I'm excited about. In the Vikings game, I know it was against the Vikings. They have a crappy offense. They didn't do anything, but I saw a lot of things that I thought that they could do that were repeatable in that game that gave me some hope moving forward. And I will say it once again, I have zero expectations for this Packers defense. I'm not getting my hopes up. I'm not saying they're going to be good next week. I'm not saying any of that, but I did think that there were some things that they carried over. And then they played another really good game this week, 9 points allowed. And I'm crossing my fingers, not getting my hopes up, but maybe, just maybe, this defense found some things that they can lean on moving forward. And we're just going to have to wait and see. But we'll see. We shall see. Look who's here. Alex.
Let's go.
How you doing, buddy?
Guys, I am phenomenal. I have about 800 thoughts for you. So I hope you have about 6 hours free, if you don't mind.
And with that, we're going to get out of here, guys. Thank you so much.
I mean, come on. How unbelievably exciting was today. This is the only time I'll do this, I swear. But like to think back 364 days ago when we were in the same exact position and how much has changed over the course of the last 364 days. I'm sure you've said this 100 times, but obviously Jordan Love is the guy. I mean, he played his best game, which is incredibly exciting. So I'm just fired up about everything right now.
Yeah. Hype.
I'll leave it at that, Andy. That's it.
I somehow muted myself. Perri and I have very much been on the same wavelength. We've been vibing. We are very excited about the game, very excited about Jordan. We've got like 1,000,001 super chats, so we're going to answer some questions. But obviously, Perri and I have had an opportunity to go through just about everything. But anything else on your mind, Alex, before we jump back into some questions?
Carl Brooks is elite.
I think you're slightly delayed, Alex. I don't know if you have an internet connection issue, but just as a heads up, unless it's on my end. But Perri, is he delayed for you or is it me?
Yeah, he is.
Okay. Fix it, Alex. You're bringing us down. I'm just kidding. All right. Where do we leave off from a super chat standpoint? Oh yeah, we went over this already. In April, Bears fans will be insufferable again. They literally never learn, and it's a hilarious cycle. you almost have to pity them, but it's also fun to watch from the outside because you just know that they're going to do it over and over every single offseason and they're never going to learn. And then they go 0-2 in the season against the Packers. They're picking in the top 10 again, this time twice in the top 10. But it's always fun to watch from afar. All right. Fading West 307. The window is literally already open and we have so much cap space to unlock. Wild to think about. We talked about that as well. Obviously, again, 5 picks in the top 100. They're not going to have much salary cap space in 2024, especially if they want to keep guys like Aaron Jones, Preston Smith, Kenny Clark, which I think are foregone conclusions at this point. But if they want to keep a bunch of those guys, they're just not going to have that much space. I still think they don't want to get too far ahead of themselves. And I still think like keeping things open for 2025 and beyond and being smart about that is probably the best way to go. But regardless of what way you want to look at it, they're in a very, very good position moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, this was the horrible year where they just ripped the Band-Aid off and did the bad cap space thing. So it's only up from here because they just tanked it, for lack of a better word, took on all of Rodgers' dead money. And
wisely so. And I mean, getting off of that.
And look at how it worked out.
Yeah. Pretty crazy. All right. 10's ability to perform in key moments is special. That might be the one thing about Jordan that we have not discussed as of yet. This was a must-win game. In fact, the last 3 weeks have been must-win games. Alex, I know you're chomping at the bit. Let me have at it.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think every time the three of us talk, I come on here and say Jordan Love just played his best game as a Packer. And he did it again today, right? 5 incomplete passes, maybe 2 questionable throws the entire game. He is, the last 8 weeks, he's the best quarterback in the NFL, bar none. He has been the best quarterback in the NFL the last 8 weeks. It's been incredible to see the ascension from October, where we were definitely questioning, okay, is he the guy? Can he get to the level he needs to get to? And just to see the turnaround, I would say since the Pittsburgh game, has just been unbelievable to watch. And yeah, he's been the best quarterback in the NFL the last 2 months. I challenge anybody to disagree with me on that.
It's a really interesting NFC playoff picture where the Packers might go into. I know, like, you've got the whole Brock Purdy situation, and there's varying, thoughts on, just I think he's a really good quarterback, no questions asked. But you've got Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts is playing hurt, and like they have not been playing great football. Baker Mayfield's banged up in Tampa, and as long as he's not going against Green Bay, does not usually look like a Hall of Fame quarterback. Like this is an NFC playoff picture where Green Bay goes in, arguably, again, like you said, Alex, the quarterback that's playing the best football right now, which is crazy to think about, and a defense that's coming off 2 of their best games of the season as well. Aaron Jones is fresh. He has not had a full season of wear and tear. We'll see what the injury report brings this week, if it's another CVS style receipt or if it, sometimes that playoffs come and that injury list starts to shrink a little bit. Well, we'll see. It'll be interesting. All right. What else we got here? Vex, always good to see you in chat. Shout out to everyone on this team and all the coaches. The defense has had 2 nice games. I have a hot take that Kraft is tight end number 1 for his versatility. Yeah, we've been talking about that a little bit this week. I think I forget who I was on with, but I'm like, is this a hot take? And then they're like, no, it's not a hot take. But I think Kraft is tight end 1, and I don't really care. They're both going to play. Musgrave's going to be awesome. It doesn't matter. They have both of them. But I do think Tucker Kraft has sort of, for now, kind of cemented himself into that overall number 1 tight end, and he's going to be that guy. That's just my thought on it.
Really? Is that recency bias? Why do you think that?
I don't think so, because I think Musgrave is more of a weapon, and I think Kraft is more the well-rounded, do everything tight end. I think he blocks better. I think he's a better run after the catch guy. I think he can do a lot of this stuff up the seam, especially because you have to honor him as a blocking tight end, that even Musgrave can do. I just think that there's like the sky's the limit for Tucker Kraft, and B, I don't think there's anything he can't do within that offense. I just think that's ultimately going to get you more playing time. Like I said, I don't care because they're going to do a bunch of 2 tight ends. They're going to split the snaps. They're both going to play. They're both going to be awesome. So I don't really care that much. It's like arguing who your favorite child is. It's like I'm happy to have both of them.
Well, when was the last time the Packers had, and whatever this was, Perry, I really liked it. But when was the last time the Packers had 2 really good tight ends? Like, are we talking before my time with Keith Jackson and Mark Chmura?
Mark Chmura, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like that is so exciting what they're going to be able to do. And I saw some other chats, right? Like when you compare this to the Sports Illustrated cover from over a decade ago when you had James Jones and Greg Jennings and Jordy Nelson and Jermichael Finlay. Like, the sky is the limit for these skill position players. Every week it is somebody new. Bo Melton again this week was awesome. Davion Wicks is terrific. Jaden Reed, you guys know I always love to gush about. And you look at Christian Watson when he gets back healthy, hopefully, and obviously Romeo Dobbs when he's back healthy after leaving the game today. Like, the sky is the limit at those two position groups. And it is unbelievable how fast this has come together, right? Like, we probably criticized a little bit too much the vision of Brian Gutekunst in the offseason, and it has come together. And here we are heading to the playoffs in a game, by the way, which I need to rifle this take off, and maybe I'm just riding high, but a game that is very winnable against the former head coach.
No, I'm right there with you. And if the AI writers at Sports Illustrated don't remake that cover, I don't know what they're doing at this point, because it should be an easy remake and an easy sell in Green Bay, if nothing less. First of all, Matthew, thanks so much for becoming a new YouTube member. Really appreciate that. Tron God, Perry, thank you. Davion Wicks. So not the only Davion Wicks supporter in the chat. Did Joe Barry cook today? Matt LaFleur, great game too. Yeah, I thought Matt's an interesting discussion. There were like the end of the second half. We haven't really talked about that yet, but the end of the second half end of the first half was interesting. I thought not taking a timeout before the field goal after the sack of Justin Fields, where they just allow, I think it ended up being like 35 seconds that ran off the clock. That was a really weird / poor decision. And then, I don't know. Overall, I think Matt had a good game today, and he deserves so much credit for where Green Bay's at. But there were some interesting moments from Matt in this one.
I mean, no game's going to be perfect, right? Like, I mean, that was an egregious mistake, yes. But he should have kicked the field goal after the end zone shot that didn't work. That last pass was a mistake. But I think also, there's some young team mistakes there too by the guys not understanding clock management, not going out of bounds. So again, it all goes back to the coach in that moment. But I don't know if I put it all on Matt. But clock management also at the end of the half and end of games and in general has not really been his strong suit, period. So he should work on that.
Yeah. Again, these are things where when you make the playoffs and you go 9-8 and you end up with a win against the Bears and all of those things that you hope you kind of chalk up to a learning experience. But I think there were a couple things that Matt could have and should have done differently, but nothing egregious enough to not win the game. And I don't know how you can't be still excited about where things are at right now with this team, and Matt deserves a ton of credit for that. All right, Slim Lewis. Goody killed it in the draft. I'm psyched he has 3 picks in the first 2 rounds coming up in April. And as we mentioned, Slim, 5 in the top 100, which before those 3rd round picks just look like garbage because you can't do anything with 3rd round picks. But now that Tucker Kraft has come along and officially broken the seal of the 3rd round, now those are gold again. So we're good to go moving forward.
Can we just acknowledge how great of a name Slim Lewis is, by the way?
It's a great name.
It's a terrific name anyway, but also a great take by Slim. Well done, Slim.
All right, what else we got here? Matt, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate that.
Are those Euros? Brandon, what's going on here, man? I'm so new to this YouTube live thing. Anyway, sorry, continue.
You gotta get out there, Alex.
Alex, expand your mind.
Yeah, expand your mind, Alex. There's more than just the people in the United States.
Crazy.
Based on the upcoming expiring contracts, which guys, if any, do either of you anticipate returning or leaving headed into 2024?
Rudy Ford.
You think he's going to leave? Returning or leave?
I think. Sorry. Returning Aaron Jones.
Yep, agreed.
A1. That man better retire a Packer forever and ever. I do not care what it takes. I will stand up on this soapbox. Can I for a hot minute? Okay. First of all, Andy, we've been in this chat now. We've been live for 50 minutes. We have not talked about Aaron Jones yet. So this might be the moment.
Hello.
I know. Okay. First of all, look, he has not had the season he's wanted. He's probably on the wrong side of the age coin when it comes to running backs. I don't care. I literally don't care. He went for 111 yards on the ground and 30 yards through the air today. He was amazing. He is amazing. He is the electric engine. He is the Energizer Bunny of this offense. I would be hard pressed unless they draft some kind of amazing running back this year. I don't know who you're getting in free agency. Someone tell me, someone in the chat, tell us who in free agency are you getting right now cheaper that you would want over Aaron Jones? No one. He is the heart and soul of this team. He is the only vet on that side of the ball. He better come back and he better retire Packer. Stay. He's like the new Donald Driver. Mm-hmm. He is the bridge, right? From the old regime to the new. He is my heart and soul. The other one that I hope comes back, I would love to see Preston back for another season. I wouldn't mind that. I know that like it might hinder maybe the development of an LVN of some kind, but I thought Preston's had a great season. And it came down to cap space and money, maybe a restructure of some kind. I wouldn't mind seeing Preston back.
Yeah, just to go back on Aaron Jones. Quickly, just want to throw the stat out there before you get after it, Andy. But Packers now 9-1 in Aaron Jones' career when he has 20 or more carries, and obviously last week and this week being two of those wins. 9-1 when he has 20 or more carries. The only loss last year against Buffalo. Love that stat, and I love Aaron Jones. He has been terrific. 3 straight 100-yard games is awesome. So yes, he better be back, Perri. I'm with you on that.
So here's the really fun thing about where the Packers are at from a free agency standpoint. So obviously what you guys are mentioning is obviously Aaron Jones and Preston Smith and those guys, they all have contract decisions that Green Bay are going to have to make, but both technically under contract right now. Your unrestricted free agents for the Green Bay Packers going into next season.
Not even answering the question right.
No, you're okay. No, because I think both of your points are amazingly correct, but these are the ones that they could potentially lose just on their own volition of like, they're going to have to make decisions on. Yosh Nijman, Keyshawn Nixon, Darnell Savage, Rudy Ford, AJ Dillon, Eric Wilson, Josiah DeGuara, Tyler Davis, Jonathan Owens, John Runyon Jr. Those are their unrestricted free agents. And I don't mean to sound harsh or crass or anything by saying this. There are a lot of people on that list that I like. And if they got back on a cheap deal or whatever, that's fine. I have zero concern about the future of this team if they lose any of the 10 of those players. And I'm not saying they will. I'm not saying they should. I'm not saying they shouldn't. We can all have those offseason discussions on a different day. But if they lose every single one of their unrestricted free agents and like just bring in their next draft class, and even if they don't go out and spend a bunch of money in free agency, the core of this team is set and their franchise QB is set. And now it's just improvement over improvement, and the improvement that they made over the season should already give you a ton of confidence that they're going to continue that trend moving forward.
Yeah, I totally agree.
They've already made the decision on Yosh Nijman, it seems. So, I mean, there's one for you. That decision's been made.
I think it would be fun to get Nixon back if I was going to choose from all of those. I know he didn't have like an as electric of a year as a returner as he did last season, but he still led the league in return yards. Low key.
Really quick, breaking news. The Packers will play the Dallas Cowboys at 3:30 p.m. on Sunday. So 3:30 p.m. Sunday, Packers Cowboys. I'm assuming it's on Fox, would be my guess, but I don't know for sure. But 3:30 p.m. Sunday. There you go. Sorry to interrupt.
Is that breaking news? It's the two biggest fan bases in the playoffs. I figured that was the slot they would end up in.
Yeah, it was, I think, probably fairly obvious, but hey, you never know.
That's fair enough. Fair enough.
I mean, the Lions versus Matthew Stafford is an interesting storyline as well. So you never know. But yeah, I would have expected that to be the 3:30 Sunday game, and it is. And that's going to be fun.
I'm just glad it's not the Peacock game, right? Those are two fan bases you don't want a Peacock. But anyway.
Script writers did good with that Matthew Stafford playing the Lions situation, huh?
They did. And with the Packers, script writers did a great job.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Okay, Andy, I want your thoughts on Aaron Jones, though.
He's back. It's over. He's back. It's done. It's an end of discussion. I don't think they're going to figure out a number between the two of them that works for both sides. I have almost 0% concern in that. And like just Matt's comments after the game of how much he means to the team and what he brings to the table. I I cannot imagine and envision a world in which they see that how this team has performed this year, especially when Aaron's been in at running back, and say, nah, we're good. Like, you go play somewhere else, Aaron Jones. Just don't see it happening. And I don't like Aaron.
3 games over 100 yards in a row when healthy. Just casual.
And Aaron has been willing, he has wanted to remain a Packer. I don't foresee him being like, nope, now's when I want my huge paycheck. Screw you, Packers. They're going to find a number that makes sense for both sides. And I do think that probably does not bode well for AJ Dillon, in my opinion. I'm not saying, again, that that's a foregone conclusion. They could bring him back. Maybe Dillon's willing to take a cheaper deal. I'm always for the player getting as much money as they can. So if that's somewhere else, awesome for him. But maybe that's what he would rather prefer, is to stay in Green Bay. We'll see. But I think Jones, with a combination of like a third and a fifth round pick, somewhere where you just get some guys with some new juice, and we talk about what, the Packers have done with, Aaron Rodgers, and repeating that with Jordan Love. Repeat the Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams draft, where you got Devontae Mays, I think, in the 7th. Grab a guy in the 3rd, grab a guy in the 5th, grab a guy in the 7th, bring Aaron Jones back. Let's party. And just hope that one of those, what doesn't matter if it's the 3rd, the 5th, or the 7th, is the guy that turns out. I don't care. Just find one of them, and let Jones kind of play it out until maybe that next guy is ready to take the spot, and maybe the following year, the year after that, whenever that might come. But
let's party. Spoken like a true poet. Let's party.
Let's party. I think it was Emily Dickinson who originally said, quote, let's party. So I am just using her amazing mind. All right. Andy, do you think this wide receiver tight end core has a higher ceiling than 2011's?
Ooh.
Alex, I feel like that you're the hot take expert of the group. What's your gut tell you?
I don't know what that says about your feelings on me, but thanks, I guess. That's really tough. I would say, you know what? Just because it's Sunday night, yes, right? Like, the answer is yes. They're all rookies and second-year guys. You've got 3 years to build with these guys. So obviously health is a big part of this. If they can stay healthy, yes. My answer is yes. I think Davion Wicks has the highest ceiling of these guys as a true wide receiver. I think Jaden Reed provides kind of that. He's not quite Deebo Samuel, but Deebo Samuel-esque role for this offense. And these tight ends, like we were just talking about, I don't remember a time ever in my Packers fandom, I'm 25 for the record, like, where there's been 2 legitimate tight ends, and clearly these 2 guys have it, whatever it is, if they can stay healthy. I think, like we just said, Keith Jackson and Chewy were like the last duo we had at that position group. So the ceiling, yes, but does it come to fruition? Time will tell. But as of right now, as I was spewing about before, this has come together better and faster than anybody, I think, including Goody, expected. So when it comes to their ceiling, the sky's the limit. If they've got number 10 slinging the ball, and I saw somebody just chatted or chimed in, I didn't catch who it was. That 10 is him, right? Like the kids say these days, 10 is him. So if they have this guy to cook with all these young guys, my vote would be yes, the ceiling is higher.
I like it. Perry, do you have a thought on it?
That's a hard one, because like we have hindsight on the 2011s, and like, is Greg in the Packers Hall of Fame?
Yeah, he just went in.
He went in last year.
Right.
Yeah.
So we got 3 dudes on that team who are in the Packers Hall of Fame. So you're asking I'm asking myself, of this team, how many Packers legends
Interesting way to look at it
are on this one? I don't know.
Does anyone get to Jordy's peak level from that group? That's another
right. I think from a tight end perspective, the ceiling is higher for sure.
For sure.
I think that's an easy answer. From a wide receiver perspective, like, that's a high bar. That's a really high bar to go up against that crew.
It's a 15-1 year, keep in mind, right? Like, that's a 15-1 team. It's a really good team.
I'll even also say at tight end, like, Jermichael Finley's ceiling was insanely high, and just some injuries left him. So it's like, again, the fact that we're even having the discussion and being like, whose ceiling is higher, that's the point. It doesn't matter who's right or wrong. Doesn't matter if they get there. Just the fact that, again, we're having that discussion at this point, and it's not like a clear and obvious, like, no, you're stupid. It's obviously 2011. That's the great sign here. And again, differing minds may differ, but I think it was also Emily.
We also have to keep in mind, right? We are a couple hours removed from the biggest Packers win at Lambeau Field since the 2019 playoffs, right? So
I'm being pretty objective, I think, in answering.
That's impossible for me. I'm full on Delulu mode right now, Perry. Like that's impossible for me right now.
Perry and I don't have hot takes, Alex. I'm just kidding.
I do.
Matthew Clark, could this be 2010 run when on the road? Also, do you have any thoughts on what Love's cap hit will be with the new contract? I'll start with that first part. Listen, we have 1265 exactly people in the chat right now, which is just
How fun is that?
Perfect, by the way, 1265. Listen, one game at a time. I still would be beyond shocked if this team had any sort of Super Bowl run in them. Have crazier things happened in the history of sports? Yes. Am I expecting it this time around? No. Am I super happy with where they're at right now? 1,000,000%. So we'll just take everything one step at a time. Jordan's playing amazing. I talked about it earlier. When the ball leaves his hands, I expect awesome things to happen right now. And when you have that sort of confidence going in, and they're going to play So they're going to play in Dallas. If they were to win, it would probably go to San Fran. There's no question about it. They would absolutely go to San Fran. And then who's ever left after that, whether that be Philly, Tampa, or the Rams, right? Philly, Detroit, Tampa, the Rams, whatever's left. Doesn't matter. So they would probably play in like non-crappy weather with a high-paced, high-powered offense, a defense that, again, is coming off of 2 good games. We'll just take it one step at a time. But anything like we said at the beginning, and as somebody chatted in earlier, anything else is gravy at this point.
Bring back Tramon Williams. That's my vote here, right? And maybe BJ Raji too. They could use some defensive TDs like they had in that 2010 run throughout the last 3 games, right? They had a defensive touchdown in the divisional championship and the Super Bowl. I'm not even going to talk about San Francisco because this is positivity hour, right? Like I'm not even going to look ahead that far. But do I think they can go on the road at Dallas and beat Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott? Absolutely, I do. 7.5 point underdogs.
Is it really 7.5?
7.5, yeah. 7.5.
Wow.
That
surprises me.
Why? Low or high?
I would have expected this to be no more than 5.5 at most. And that may not seem like crazy, like it's not that different. I would have said 5.5 at most would have been my guess.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but is Dallas undefeated at home, or have they only lost once at home? They're all undefeated
at home.
Yeah,
7.5 feels right. 7.5 feels right to me.
I agree.
So they're due for a loss at home, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I'm saying. Yes,
100%.
Exactly yeah.
This playoff push, like if they do happen to make any kind of playoff push, would feel like 2019 to me, where like it's just like, whoa, how'd we get here? This is crazy. What a wild situation we found ourselves in. So I don't think this is any kind of serious. I think taking next season and the next 2 seasons seriously in terms of what we've seen from them and building off of that seriously, yes, but not this year.
Come on, Perry. Positivity hour. Anything's
possible.
I am.
This is positivity for sure.
They're in the dance. They're in the dance.
No, it's we're back to 0-0. It's even playing field now.
That's it.
And this team is getting healthier.
What scares you most about Dallas, and why is the answer CeeDee Lamb?
No, the answer is their passing attack and against Green Bay's defense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a problem. That's going to be a problem. Green Bay's going to put up points in that game. Screw Dan Quinn. Green Bay's putting up points in that game. I'm saying that right now. I don't care about
Micah Parsons against Josh Myers also scares me. So
yeah, they're going to line him up over the center. That's true too. That's a problem. There's going to be some problems, but Green Bay has some problems for Dallas too. Vex, I don't know. Maybe Alex or Perry, do you know? It's just dusting himself. I think it's just dusting himself off. I don't think it's anything else crazy to it.
That's it.
I don't think so.
That's it. But Vex, thanks for the chat. I appreciate it. Aaron, thanks so much for becoming a new member. Appreciate that as well. More euros for Alex. How do you think we match up on defense against Dak and the Cowboys? We just talked about that. Hello from Berlin. I love the podcast. Hey. Thanks so much for listening in from Berlin. That is amazing. All right. How do we match up on defense against Dak? We just talked about CeeDee Lamb is definitely going to be a problem. Dak's going to be a problem. Yeah. They have to do a lot of the stuff that they did against Minnesota, just with a lot better quarterback and not Nick Mullins and Jaron Hall. And it's Dak Prescott instead. So you hope that Mike McCarthy has a Mike.
No, sorry.
Go ahead.
They're going to have to find a way to get turnovers. This team has been super turnover adverse, and it's been fine because they've been playing subpar competition. That is not going to work against the Dallas Cowboys. Like they are going to have to find a way to take the ball away. It's the only way.
Exactly what I was going to say, Perry. Well said.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is they're going to have to get pressure on Dak, and they're going to have to rally and tackle again. Like they're not good enough. Just man up. Like they can just stop everything. I thought they did a much better job of that these past 2 weeks, but it will be a massive challenge. Dallas is going to put up points. I don't think Green Bay's holding them under like anything under like 23 in this game. I think it's going to be, and maybe it's around there, but Green Bay's going to have to match point for point. We could have a good old fashioned Packers Cowboys shootout, which would be a lot of fun in Jerry World. So sign me up for that. Arnoldo, super amazing of you. Gifted 5 Pack-A-Day podcast memberships to people in chat. That is awesome. Matt, thanks for everything you guys do all year long. The season has already been a giant success. It had its ups and downs, but 10 is him. Go Pack, go. We are right there with you. Vex, the end of the first half was absolutely inexcusable. Just a lot that goes wrong. And again, it starts with not calling a timeout after the sack and before the field goal, which leaves you with a limited amount of time. You have Tucker Kraft not going out of bounds. It was funny because Patrick Taylor was in the game and somebody in the press box is like, well, hopefully, Patrick Taylor goes out of bounds this time. And then they immediately throw to Tucker Kraft and he cuts up the field and like, just go out of bounds. So you had that situation. You have an almost interception in the back of the end zone. I actually thought when it got let go and watching it from up in the press box, I didn't think Malik did a great job of tracking the ball. It didn't look as egregious of a throw. And then it just didn't look like Malik tracked it well. It was a 50-50 ball at best. I'm not saying it should have been thrown. I'm not absolving Jordan entirely. Malik did do a great job of kind of working to break it up at the end, which was super important. I guess it really wasn't that important at all because they didn't get any points out of it anyway. But at the time it felt super important. And then you obviously have the play where as soon as they lined up with 11 seconds left, my immediate thought was, they're going to do the play where they just run 4 verts and they throw over the guy in the end zone, like out of bounds, just to take 8 seconds off the clock. So there's no time left. And then they can kick the field goal and they don't have to do the kickoff and worry about anything like that. That makes sense. Even when they ran the out, I'm like, he's probably going to throw it well over his head and just throw incomplete and not have to worry about it. You're just setting yourself up for too much failure in that situation. Should Jordan Love know to throw it high in that situation? He will moving forward. Should Dontavian know to probably just drop in that situation? He will moving forward. But you don't even want to put those guys in that situation in the first place. It was a really smart heads-up move by Tyreek Stevenson, but a lot went wrong in those final minutes, and thankfully it didn't come back to haunt Green Bay. Anyone?
Bueller? No, I mean, you're right. Stevenson had a really nice game at the beginning of the game. And then I forgot which play it was, but he got burnt at some point coming off of his Defensive Player of the Week award. So he's a good player. But, the end of the first half was really gross. But nonetheless, luckily it didn't come back to bite. And the Packers defense, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but the Packers defense came through today, man. Joe Barry deserves credit. He does.
He does. No hot take. It legitimately deserves credit for these past 2 weeks. And let's talk about the elephant in the room really quick, because I know some people are the immediate of like, all right, does this mean Joe Barry just saved his job now and he's going to be the defensive coordinator next year? And was it almost not worth it just for that alone? I still don't know. My understanding, there's no way to really check this. There's not like a SPO track or over the cap for coaches to check their contracts like there is for all the players. So you can't check what coaches' deals are. My understanding and what it seems to be is that Joe's contract is up and they would have to re-sign him. So it doesn't seem like it would be a termination scenario. It would lead me to believe that Matt probably will just go in a different direction. It seems to be that that's what the vibe still is. If Joe somehow saves his job, it's, in my opinion, because they do awesome against Dallas and they probably do awesome against San Francisco in the week after that. And if that is the case, if they did awesome to end the season against Minnesota and Chicago and Dallas and San Fran, and they got themselves in the NFC Championship conversation, like game, I will gladly take Joe Barry for one more year, and we will figure it out, because I still, as much as we're talking about this now, I still don't look at 2024 as the Super Bowl or bust sort of season. They have a lot of time left. If they go into next year and the defense struggles again, you can always move on after another season. So if the cost of going to like an NFC championship game means you have another year of Joe Barry, okay, I'm willing to take that defeat, if that's what you want to call it. But I'll just choose for them to play awesome defense the rest of the way and go from there and see what happens.
I think the scenario in which you break it down is completely correct. I think it needs to be an NFC championship or a Super Bowl for him to completely be, or definitely be back. My understanding is the same, by the way, Andy. That's what I've heard as well, that his contract is up at the end of this year. So it would be a mutual parting of ways, essentially, if he is not to return. But optically, if he is brought back, that makes it that much worse. That means Joe Barry was then extended or signs a new contract, right? So optically, it just looks grosser than just a normal, yeah, he's back. But nonetheless, yeah, I'm with you. I think, I see a lot of people chiming in on the chat, like it always takes him until his back is up against the wall. We saw it last year when they went on the 4-game winning streak towards the end of the season. We saw it again this year. It took until the final 2 weeks of the season to really figure it out. There were a couple of games throughout the course of this season, which was a weird one, 9-8, but that the defense certainly played the role in when the offense was not humming at the point that it is currently humming. But I find it really hard to comprehend Joe Barry being back as a defensive coordinator next year, unless this team goes on a 2010-esque run.
Yeah. Well, his contract being up also makes things like so much easier for Matt LaFleur, right?
Clean break.
It's just like, oh, like you guys said, like mutual parting of ways. Again, like I think everyone knows how I feel about Joe Barry.
And I think everyone knows how everyone feels.
No, but it's also just like, even in this game, right? You still saw certain flashes of like, why are they playing so far off the line? And why is Justin Fields able to convert some like 3rd and 8s? And, and like, then all of a sudden in the second half, right? Like they make the switch to playing more man and rushing 5. And you're like, oh my God, look, Joe Barry, look at how well this works. Why don't you do this all the time? And I know that's like a really, diminutive way of describing playing NFL defenses. And I don't mean to be so simplistic about it. I know you have to play zone sometimes, like don't come at me. But like, but at the same time, you watch he make a switch and you're like, look at how great it is, when we have all these guys who can rush well, like watching them rush 5, right? Like they get 5 sacks and 10 tackles for a loss in a game. Look how great our corners play when they can actually play man. And so it's frustrating that we've gotten to this point and there's been no change. Now, I agree with you guys. If they make some kind of run and this defense is legitimately playing well, and it's not like the offense is leading them through this, right? Like if they somehow win in Dallas on like a last second field goal because Jordan Love leads them down the field on this like amazing game-winning drive and the defense didn't do anything, I'm not going to be sitting here saying Joe Barry deserves to keep his job because they won. Like I'm just not going to be.
Let's be real. The more likely scenario is we're talking about Joe Barry after next game again. Like let's just be real. Like this high-powered Dallas offense probably not look great. Even if Green Bay wins, we're probably still talking about a defense that had a tough day at the office. Like that's probably what we're talking about. So if we're talking about like likely scenarios, it's more likely that we're talking in a frustrating tone about the defense next week than we're talking about, all right, are they going to keep Joe Barry again? Like we'll just take it one step at a time. I
guess I don't like playing well for a handful of games doesn't erase the past like 3 years for me.
And I think everyone's on the same page. I think everyone is 1,000,000% on the same page. I will also say it's somewhat interesting. I think it was actually after the Tampa game, so we can't necessarily give full credit here because the Carolina game did not go well. It was after the Tampa game where Matt said he was going to have to become more involved with the defense. Mm-hmm. And again, Carolina did not go great, but these last 2 weeks have gone much better. And even if you go back to the Carolina game, there has been a different mentality with this defense since the Carolina game. It didn't work against Carolina. There's a lot more blitzing and there was a lot more man coverage against Carolina. That didn't necessarily always work, but there was a different mentality. And then we saw it against Minnesota and we saw it against Chicago. So I'm just saying it's interesting, and maybe Matt has more to do with this defense over the past few weeks than what it's just being shown. I do think that there's been a ask of Joe Barry to be more aggressive in these past few weeks, for better or worse.
That's a good point. That's a really good point, Andy.
We've seen the results in them getting after the quarterback the last 2 weeks, right? I think it was 5 sacks today, 6 sacks last week, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, they've clearly made it happen since the several I don't know, breakdowns, is that the word, against Tampa and New York over the course of the last month and a half. So, yeah, you're right. I think we're all on the same page. I'm sick of talking about Joe Barry. We should be happy.
Yeah. Again, we're all good here. We're happy. We're happy that the defense played well over the past couple weeks. There's only good things to discuss here for the most part. Arnaldo, obviously, we just talked about this. May have been a little bit more of Matt's influence, but they are definitely blitzing a little bit more, and it has had success, especially over these past couple weeks. It also helps that you haven't played great passing quarterbacks over the past couple weeks. Let's be real about that as well. Tron God 714, thanks so much again. 55 have his jersey, hidden gem. Andy Barr had a couple nice plays in this game as well. He's one of those. He's like a streaky shooter in basketball. You don't know when he's going to get hot, but every once in a while that dude just gets hot, and it's like, oh, it's I guess it's Kingsley and Igbare time, and like he plays well, and it's like, I like this Kingsley and Igbare. So there's a little bit of hot and cold with him, but I thought this overall was a nice day from him.
Agreed. No I thought there were several bright spots on the defense. I mentioned Carl Brooks earlier. I don't know if you guys have gone in on him at all, but if you look at the guys that look at the guys that got sacks today, right? Like first and second year guys across the board: Carl Brooks, Lucas Van Ness, Quay Walker, all getting back there. We talk a lot about the youth on offense, but the youth on defense certainly came out today. And JJ Enigbari, I think I said this the last time the three of us got together. We talk about the sophomore jumper, the sophomore slump, and he is certainly one of the top candidates on this entire roster that has made that sophomore jump. And you're right, Andy. It's streaky occasionally, but dude, when he has his moments, that guy is. I love this from Tron God, a hidden gem on this Packers defense.
One of the things about JJ too was at first I was like, he's just a pass rusher. Like he's not really great in run defense. And then he had some great moments in run defense tonight. And you're right. You can see him, Alex, developing like right in front of your eyes into a much more like well-rounded, just like defensive front player.
But Devontae Wyatt too, by the way, making a couple of plays today. Look at
Andy, do you want to take your moment? Because you called this, like you.
What part did I call?
Devontae Wyatt.
Devontae Wyatt.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I just saw Schneidman's tweet about the Packers not having a 100-yard rusher all season, and then Aaron Jones comes back in the last 3 games and beep, beep, beep. One
more time.
Devontae Wyatt is somebody that I talked about last week as being like this close to just being like a breakout guy. And I'm going to say it again after this one. I don't think like this is obviously like his crazy breakout performance. He had a huge sack in this game at a right moment. He had a couple other plays where he was like this close again. And that's sort of been the story of his season, is like, he's literally this close to having like 12 sacks on the year. And it's just, unfortunately, some of those slipped through his fingertips, and he hasn't finished a couple of those, but the pressure percentage is there. I like the way that he plays. He's getting better and better. And man, just what I've seen on tape of him, especially these past couple of weeks, has given me enough excitement and hope that maybe this is turning the corner a little bit for Devontae, where he's becoming the guy that they thought he could become. That would be a complete game changer for the Packers defense if he can do that with any level of consistency. The best way to pressure is from the interior, and he has a way with his size and his agility and his movement skills at his size to make a huge impact. We saw a couple of those today. I'm hoping it continues moving forward, but he's getting there. He's very, very close.
Yeah. And it's important, right? He was a first-round pick. Like, him not hitting, not great. Like, you want his development to continue on. And I was really excited after they picked him for obvious reasons. So, yeah, I don't know. Andy, I wanted to give you your moment since you gave me mine at the beginning.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Nathaniel, thanks so much for that. Really appreciate it. Most State of Minnesota, and how crazy is it that this young wide receiver core have stepped up like this and can go toe-to-toe with great defenses like this? Incredible production.
It's absurd, right? Like, I mean, I think we expected guys like think back to last year, right? We were super excited about the two, Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, and those haven't even been the most exciting two this year, right? I mean,
No.
Jaden Reed has obviously had many moments. Davion Wicks had more moments today, obviously, with 2 touchdowns. But then you look at guys like Bo Melton and Malik Heath, right? Guys that really we didn't anticipate to make any sort of impact in 2023, making big impacts in the biggest games of the season. So it's not only the highly drafted or highly thought of guys from the past 2 years in Dobbs, Watson, and now this year Reed and Wicks. Like, it is those other guys too, Malik Heath and Bo Melton specifically, that have really, taken this team to another level the last couple of weeks, which is really the most impressive part to me about the aforementioned incredible production from the most hated Minnesotan.
Obviously, given the choice, you want Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs both available for this game against Dallas. Zero question about it. But it is crazy to think of, like, if they need to go into this game with Jaden Reed, Davion Wicks, Bo Melton, Malik Heath, I'm like, all right, yeah, that's fine. Like Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft, Aaron Jones, like, they're lacking some firepower. Obviously, again, you want Watson and Dobbs out there, and we don't know what the injury designation is on Romeo Dobbs. It does sound like Matt knew going into this game. I don't know if you guys caught that Matt was using some gamesmanship. He said, I'm sorry for lying to you guys. He's like, I had to do a little gamesmanship. I basically knew he wasn't going to play, but I had to, kind of lie to you guys on Friday. So he wasn't going to play this week, and we'll just have to see what that brings next week. But he already said, like, the words of, like, well, I won't rule him out, but, like, it already does not seem like it's trending well for Christian going into next week. Again, we'll see. But my point being here is, put that aside. The fact that you can go into this and you still have Bo Melton, Jaden Reed, Davion Wicks, Malik Heath. Granted, Bo's pull the next guy up. It doesn't even matter at this point. Kraft, Musgrave, Jones. Yeah. Like, I feel good about it. They have enough weapons on offense with the way Jordan's playing.
It's just such a fever dream that Malik Heath and Bo Melton are guys making huge plays in the biggest game of the season, right? Like, these are playoff games the last 2 weeks, and Bo Melton and Malik Heath are making ginormous impact. It's just weird.
Well, we were talking about this earlier. I don't remember, Alex, you might not have joined yet, but we were like, Davion Wicks was a 5th round pick this year. Right? Like, this is not, and again, like, people chide the Packers, like, oh, they don't take 1st round back. I don't care. Look at the talent that they're finding. Like, good for them. Good for them. And again, even when they do happen to take weapons early in the draft, they're also still crushing it because they got Jaden Reed in the 2nd round, and he is, and again, you want to give, our Pack-A-Day podcasters their flowers. Like, you've been high on Jaden Reed since day one. So look at you go. Yeah. So
it is. The real celebration is about our previous takes. The real celebration is about our past takes today.
I am allowing it today. Okay. I'm allowing us to have our moments, but in all seriousness, I mean, this is the youngest NFL offense to ever go to the playoffs. So it's pretty impressive all the way around what they've been able to do.
All right, Spiked Mocha, the short kickoffs, strategic or kicker limitation. Jacob Westendorf and I were actually talking about this in the press box today. It feels like it might be strategic, but I'm confused by it. It does feel like, I don't know, like it felt like coming out, he had this huge leg and he was just going to be able to kind of knock it through the end zone and make it so that they were just going to have to take it at the 25. There were multiple returns today that kind of go to, like, the very beginning of the end zone, which is, if they're going to return it, that's kind of like, if it goes any further, they're probably just going to fair catch it or let it go, and they're going to get it at the 25. So if you're hoping for a return, then you think you can hold them within the 25. Like, that's where you want it. But I don't know. There've been too many returns past the 25 to just be like, just kick it out of the end zone if you have the ability, and don't F with it. Like, that's my take. So I don't know. I'm confused by it. Nothing else?
No,
right.
I got nothing on that. Sorry.
No.
And Vex apparently forgot about Anders Carlson's missed field goal, which at the time felt very, very important. This felt like one of those games where you did not want to have, points off the board for any reason. That's a very makeable field goal, and just never really had a chance. So that to me was a big one. They also, again, allowed a return to, like, the 32-yard line, I want to say, which isn't the end of the world. They got pinned. Jaden Reed fair caught a ball at the 5-yard line, which might have been the best decision in that situation. Tough to tell. Guys were down there, so maybe they get pinned deeper if he didn't. But he fair caught a ball at the 5-yard line. I'm not willing to give the special teams too many flowers in this game.
Hold on, let's not forget about the massive break they caught either, right? Where they had that weird return that was flipped out of the end zone.
So once the player touches the ball, it becomes a free play at that point, regardless of if he's in the end zone or not. So literally once the player, because the ball is like downed by the team at that point, but it's also still live. It's a really weird, interesting, fluky rule, but it literally gives you carte blanche to do anything you want.
Really?
Like literally the ball can hit the player can touch the bear can touch the ball. The dude could have picked it up, punted the ball out of the end zone, and it would have been Packers ball. He could have picked it up and handed the ball back to the guy and said, here, score a touchdown, and it would have been Packers ball. Huh. So it is, as soon as that guy touches the ball for Chicago, it is 1,000,000% a free play, and nothing bad can happen for Green Bay after that point. So there's not a ton of risk there. What he did is actually fairly smart. As soon as he touches it, free play, and hey, if he gets it and there's nobody behind him and he can turn around and run for 99 yards, awesome. Like I said, if he fumbles, gets a safety, unless he murders someone, he's fine.
I will say, back to your point about the fair catching, I'm more than fine with players being a little bit more conservative when it comes to like ball security and stuff like that. So like, I don't care. I'd rather anything than a muffed situation.
But to the point of like, that's also where I'm like, I almost wonder if he just shouldn't even touch the ball in that situation. Like the only way something really bad could happen.
No, I meant about like Jaden Reed fair catching. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I got you.
No, that other one was also so strange because I was like, if he falls into the end zone, is that a safety?
Nope. Packers ball, first down. Nothing bad. It's a free play after. It's a free play. So nothing bad can happen once the Bears guy touches the ball. That's why when you see a guy on the punt team like touch it down, like they want to like stop everything. And if like a guy like bats the ball or anything, where a guy will try to recover it and go, because it's like literally the equivalent of an offense, like the guy jumping off sides and having a free play. It's just at that point, no more bad things can happen for the return team. All right. Pay Tom Clements. There's one we can absolutely agree with. He deserves so much credit. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. And maybe this is my naivety, and it's not like I'm, just jumping out of my seat to give Aaron Rodgers any flowers today. I do believe that Aaron Rodgers chose Tom Clements not just because he wanted Tom Clements as the quarterback's coach for himself. I believe he chose Tom Clements because he also knew how important it would be for Jordan. Aaron knew the entire Tom Clements quarterback guru playbook. He probably could teach the Tom Clements seminar of quarterback school at that point. I'm sure he loved the comfortability of having somebody he's known and worked with and has had great success under. I have zero doubt about that whatsoever. I do think a part of what went into that decision for Aaron was also knowing how much Tom would benefit Jordan Love in that scenario as well. So just my hypothesis theory, don't know it for a fact, but if I were to guess, I think there is some credence to that.
I think it's a good hypothesis. There's three people that I will continue to give a ton of credit to. Tom Clements being one of them, the other two being the obvious, Brian Gutekunst to Matt LaFleur. The turnaround is just, it's unbelievable. This is a 2-5 football team. Like, let's not forget that, right? And the way they responded post-October, specifically on the offensive side of the football, is so much credit to Tom Clements and his development of Jordan Love, and Matt LaFleur trusting Jordan Love and opening up the playbook and allowing us as fans to see and love what we've seen from this offense over the course of the last 8 to 10 weeks. So totally agree with Nathaniel on this.
By the way, 2020 draft, A+. Don't care what happened after the first pick. Can you believe, by the way, that Brian Gutekunst traded a 4th-round pick to go get a quarterback? He traded a 4th-round pick to move up in the draft to go get a quarterback. I can't believe Brian Gutekunst did that in 2020.
Should we go back and find all the draft grades that gave him an F? Should we just pull those receipts real quick? Because isn't it normal to say to wait, what is it, 3-ish years on draft grades, right? Yeah.
My draft grades, they're stupid. I could talk about that all night, but nonetheless.
The funny thing that I always find crazy about it is after Jordan Love, there are players that are out of the league from that draft, that were taken very soon after. And it's they did Isaiah Wilson for the Tennessee Titans at pick 29, who some people had mocked to the Packers, out of the league. Jeff Gladney, who I think is unfortunately passed away since this time, so I'm not trying to drag him here, but he was out of the league, I think, actually even before that happened. They're just like, there have been players like Ross Blacklock, who I know a lot of people liked. He's been on a variety of different practice squads throughout this season. He was taken at pick 40. So like, and even if you like replace Jordan Love, I know there's always like, oh, they could have taken Justin Jefferson and Brandon Ayuk. No, those guys went before Jordan Love did. That was not an option at that time. Like it's very interesting. Like Clyde Edwards-Helaire went at pick 32. How is he doing in Kansas City at that running back spot? Like there were guys picked right after him that have had no impact on their team, but yeah, A+ draft now for Goody. No question about it.
No doubt.
First of all, Matt, when I first read this, I thought your name was Matt Burrito. So I'm now very upset that your name is not Matt Burrito. But Matt Patricia, you think Goot has a shot at exec of the year? Obviously, I'm biased, but between the last few drafts and the big decision at quarterback, but it's undeniable. He should.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I actually feel very strongly about this. I joke a little bit about Coach of the Year with Matt LaFleur. I think D'Amico Ryans and a few other guys have a much like better case for it and like probably should win. Although I will say everyone was like, Matt LaFleur, is he a good coach to Aaron Rodgers? Answer is yes. But like in terms of an actual shot at exec of the year, give me someone who has a better case for it.
Exactly.
Who moved on from a Hall of Fame quarterback who got roasted for it, who fleeced the Jets for picks. We already talked about the cap space situation.
So we're just assuming Gutekunst is a good GM? We're just assuming that Gutekunst
we're
is
just
a good
assuming.
GM?
We're just actually only making
GM, Perry? We're just going to assume. We're just going to assume. Okay.
Actually, I'm not assuming. I'm giving you hard, cold facts, McAfee. Is going into this draft again, like we said, with 3 top 50 picks. Crushed this rookie draft, as Andy and I went over earlier, except for Lou Nichols. Sorry, Lou Nichols. And also found his next generational quarterback with literally zero down years. I mean, please.
Yeah. You nailed it. Absolutely on Goody being the executive of the year. I just want to go back to something you said, Perry, on LaFleur for coach of the year, right? Like I'm with you. I think D'Amico Ryans, Kyle Shanahan, John Harbaugh. Thank you. Like they all have really good cases, but when you look back to when the Packers were in the middle of their losing streak, right? They lose to the Raiders. 2 weeks later, Josh McDaniels is fired, and the odds makers had Matt LaFleur as the highest odds of the next head coach to be fired in the NFL, right? Not Arthur Smith, not Frank Reich.
He was on the odds list this week. He was like 6th or 7th on the odds list of week of next coach to be fired.
And here we are with a 9-8 playoff team that is led by a bunch of young guns on the offensive side of the football. The best team in the third quarter in the entire NFL this year, right? Like it is absurd. To your point, what Goody was able to construct and how Matt LaFleur was able to execute and turn this thing around from 2-5 to a playoff team. They go 7-3 over the course of their last 10 games. It's both of them are certainly candidates. I don't know that LaFleur will win Coach of the Year, but I think you're right, Perry. Tell me anybody else that has a better resume this year than Brian Gutekunst the way this season has turned out.
The Texans front office is probably in the conversation for going from worst to first. Drafting like the CJ Stroud situation, moving. I don't think they moved up for Stroud, did they? They were at 2 already.
No.
But either way, getting CJ Stroud, moving up for Will Anderson, and just sort of completely turning that franchise around. That's probably one that needs to be at least in the conversation.
Good point.
But outside of that, and again, either way, Goody's in the convo, and if he doesn't win it, should at least be in the top 3, I would think, and definitely has every right to win it. Let's put it that way.
It's fitting that I compared the Packers as the NFC's Houston Texans on my pregame show today. That's my take today. That was my take.
There you go.
After watching the Texans last night. Anyway, all right, move on.
A few more, then we're probably going to get out of here, guys. Captain Quint, does it feel like our wide receivers are always open, or is it just me? I think this is twofold. I think this is wide receivers doing a great job of getting open and guys knowing how to separate. I think this is also a product of also 2 things. 1, a Matt LaFleur offense that just flat out works. And number 2, a quarterback that isn't honing in on one specific wide receiver this is going to sound like a a diss to Aaron. It is not meant to be, but that's maybe trying to do a little bit too much at the line of scrimmage or trying to just be a little bit too cute in certain situations. It's running the offense, knowing where to go with the football, finding the open receiver and hitting them. And Jordan has shown a tremendous propensity to run this offense the way that it's supposed to be run, know where to go with the football, hit those players, especially as the season has gone along. Early in the season, wasn't always accurate with it. He's gotten much more accurate as the season has gone along. And even when those things break down, Tucker Kraft on a play at the end of the game to go win the game, Jaden Reed on a 50-plus yarder that wasn't within the script of the play. It's just all of it. So I think it's wide receivers getting open. I think it's a scheme. I think it's a quarterback running the scheme the right way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Patrick, if Alex was mind blown by Euros, he's going to be mind blown by CHF. Excuse my French. Honest and face fanel. I'm going to let Perry. Can you speak any better? I'm going to butcher that.
My French, it has a very American accent, but honest and face final.
There you go. We are in the playoffs. Go pack ho. I might like that better, actually. LaFleur's coach of the year. Like we just talked about, not sure he's going to end up in that coach of the year conversation, but don't really care. He's done a tremendous job. I'm sure he maybe cares, but either way, he's done an awesome job. Tron God, right now, Vince Lombardi is smiling on Matt LaFleur. Go do it your way. Yeah, Matt deserves a ton of credit for what he's done. NFL Coach of the Year, Kevin Stefanski, Browns minus 950 is what the current leader is.
Forgot about him.
With Joe Flacco, yeah.
Flacco fever, baby.
But I mean, Coach of the Year, I don't think Matt is like. I think put him in the conversation, not a shoe-in to win.
Yep.
Exact is different.
Well said.
And Shane's like, I think he can be in the conversation. I just think there's probably 4 or 5 guys that are still ahead of him at this point. And Green Bay's probably just been, you're 2-5. You had some weird, bizarre moments. I think the Matt LaFleur Coach of the Year probably ended when they had the losses to the Giants and the Bucs. If they finish the season with those wins as well, and they end on like a 5-6 game, whatever it is, actually would have been like an 8-9 game winning streak. If they win those 2 games, you're easily talking about probably the Coach of the Year and Matt LaFleur. I think those two, just having that dip after those wins, and then, you just sort of get in the court of public opinion of that point of like, all right, these are the guys in the convo, these are the guys not in the convo, et cetera, et cetera. But again, I don't really care all that much for whoever wins the award or doesn't. Matt's done an awesome job and he deserves credit for it.
Yeah, totally.
All right. That was 44 super chats. I think we got to. We've got almost 1,200 people still watching. We've been going for over an hour and a half. This was also, by the way, a completely impromptu live show. We were going to record our normal recorded episode at 8:30 Central Time. It's now 9:22, but this was way too much fun, and there was a lot of stuff to discuss, and this was amazing. Alex, I will start with you. Anything else you want to get off your chest? Any other final takes that you have today?
Yeah, I'll just say this, guys, right? Like we've talked about it all season long. Nobody rides the roller coaster quite like Alex Strofe. And holy smokes, was this the most fun I've had cheering for a Packers team in my lifetime, right? Like 9-8 isn't the sexiest record I've seen in my lifetime. I've seen a Super Bowl champion. I've seen a 15-1 season. I've never had as much fun, and maybe as the least amount of fun as I had this year. It was quite the ride as we enter the playoffs this week. We answered the big question weeks ago, but it was further solidified again today that the Packers did it again. They did it again at the quarterback position. How lucky are we? 3 in a row now, franchise quarterbacks for the Green Bay Packers. This offense, we've already talked about it a ton, but this offense doesn't have a true number 1 receiver, yet they've got like a million superstars in the making. Defensively, that's been a different roller coaster, but it's certainly been one. Now, there are some bright spots. There are some bright players defensively that we can look forward to. But you're in the dance. As Perry said earlier, you're 0-0 now. You can wipe the records clean. You're going to Dallas with a chance to get to the divisional round and be one of the last 8 teams standing. That is a sentence I did not think we'd be saying in October. So here we are. It's playoff week. It's still game week. Tomorrow's Victory Monday. Tuesday's Victory Tuesday. We're on to Dallas. We're sending Big Mike packing, and I am so fired up for the next couple of weeks.
Perry?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think I echo a lot of Alex's. This has been a really special and fun season. I think we all went into it not expecting, just not knowing what to expect. it could have gone in so many different directions. There are 1,000 different ways this story could have been written this season, and I wouldn't have changed any of it. When you talked about like the losses in New York and against the Bucks and everything like that, the roller coaster was the roller coaster, and it's, I think, what made a lot of these high highs that much more fun and enjoyable. And we're just getting started now. Yes, the Bears lost their Super Bowl today. We're kind of at go now. We collected our $200. Now we're at go, which is just freaking awesome, because this team has all the makings to be really great, and there's still a lot of work to be done. But like I said before, the floor is a lot higher than I thought it would be, and the ceiling is a lot higher than I thought it would be. I feel grateful to be a Green Bay Packers fan, because this team knows how to draft quarterbacks. This team knows how to find quarterbacks. So I think it's time for me to go get a 33 jersey. And I think it's time for me to go get a 10 jersey. And I think it's time for me to really enjoy whatever happens next week. I said it, I think, twice already in this live, but I'll say it again. It's house money, this game. And ahead to whatever happens this offseason. But this team is we talked a lot about the Texans being like accelerated ahead from their development. The Packers, I think, are also accelerated, not quite as far ahead, but they are ahead of where I thought their development would be. And I am pumped to see where they go.
It doesn't get any better than a season that doesn't have much expectations and you go to the playoffs. Doesn't get much better than not knowing if your next quarterback following 3 decades of legends is going to be great, and he ends up being great at minimum. I don't even know what adjective I want to use, but he's at minimum great. It doesn't get much better than having a Week 18 game against your biggest rival, the Chicago Bears, at home with an opportunity to go to the playoffs. And as Paul Zeebel says here, in their Super Bowl, they just try to eliminate Green Bay. That's all they have left to play for, is just to try to knock Green Bay out of the playoffs. And you get that win in the final game of the season to go to the playoffs at Lambeau Field. These moments are awesome. It's what we cover this team for all year long. It's why we're all fans of this team. The journey is just getting started for this team. And as we talked about, we're not exactly expecting it to be ending in this, parade at the end of this specific season, but you have set the foundation for where this team can go moving forward. The goal of this was Jordan Love, and that was the list. But the reason that's the list is because the easiest way to open up a Super Bowl window is by having the next franchise quarterback. And they have now set themselves up to open a legitimate long-term Super Bowl window with the youth and the talent. And all of a sudden, by the way, the undeniable experience that the youth and the talent gained in this season, and now have a playoff game coming up to make that go even further. And maybe they get a win, maybe they don't. But it's tough not to be excited about all the things that have happened this season for this quarterback, this team, this franchise, and where they're going from here. Good day to be a Packers fan. Wouldn't want to do it with anyone else other than you two. Thank you for the 1,200 plus of you who have stuck with us for an hour and 45 minutes. Thank you for the 44 of you who have done super chats or bought memberships for people in the chat or anything else. You guys are the absolute best. Packer fans are the best. The Packers are the best. Alex Perri. Alex, where can we find your work?
Yeah, get me on Twitter at Alex_Strofe. You can see everything I've got going on with ESPN Madison and ESPN Milwaukee and my team at Good Karma Brands. It's going to be a really fun week, man. It's playoff week. We've got another pregame show to do this Sunday at 620 WTMJ and ESPN Wisconsin, which I'm fired up about, right? Like I was asking Rob Domofsky and Jason Wilde and Brian Bulaga when they were on with me this morning. I said, we're going to be talking next week? All three of them said, yeah, we'll be talking next week. And all three of them are absolutely correct. So it's an exciting week ahead, and you can get me on Twitter. That's pretty much the only one I'm active on. So appreciate y'all.
PG?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Perri_Goldstein, but more importantly, follow the podcast at PWSS Podcast with Maggie Loney, Pax What She Said. We will have our recap of the game up tomorrow evening. So you can check that out. And then, hey, we still got games. So Maggie and I are still in season mode. So we will have a Cowboys wild card preview show for you later in the week, which is a crazy thing to say. I did not think that I would be talking about playoff football on Packs What She Said this season, but here we are. So yeah, we'll keep it rolling. Just follow Packs What She Said on all the socials, on YouTube as well, and go Pack Go.
Really quick before we finalize, is Mike McCarthy versus the Packers still a story? It's obviously some story, but is it?
Yeah.
Like, what's the level of story there?
It's obviously a bigger story if Aaron Rodgers is still the quarterback, but
right.
I still think it's still a story, right? Like you're playing the head coach who replaced you. I mean, if it wasn't Matt LaFleur as the head coach, I think it's less of a storyline. But yeah, of course, he won a Super Bowl here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it feels less of a story without Rodgers.
Agreed. Like I would say Stafford and Stafford versus the Lions is more of a story, right? Like that's the more intriguing story-line of Wild Card.
Is there anyone playing that Mike coached?
I don't think so.
Aaron Jones.
Bakhtiari, right?
Bakhtiari's
not playing, right? I'm just trying to think on the roster. That's pretty much about it.
It has to be it, right? Kenny and Aaron Jones, because I don't think Preston was on the team.
Preston wasn't here yet. He joined with LaFleur.
Yep.
It's not that many. For me, it just feels more like for fans. The story's more for fans when we're like, oh, it's Mike. I think it's also like a little bit boogeyman. Packers tend, again, it's a completely different team, but the Packers tend to do well going down to Jerry World. Jair.
Yep.
Yeah. Right. So it's like, are the Packers still is this still a friendly stadium in this new regime going down to Jerry World? Packers won a Super Bowl there.
Might have been too, because Elton was the same draft as Jair, right?
Yep. Yeah. But I think they're both 2017.
There's a handful.
Okay.
There's a handful. But
maybe in their rookie season.
Yeah.
But I mean, like this is I don't know. It feels like for the fans more so.
Yeah, either way. So excited about this week. All right, I just had to get that last one in there. Go follow Perri Goldstein at Perri_Goldstein. Follow Alex at Alex_Strofe. You can find me at Andy Herman NFL. Of course, the podcast at Pack-A-Day Podcast. Check out those Pack-A-Day Podcast YouTube memberships. You're going to want them this week more than ever because it's a freaking playoff week. So make sure to go check that out. I will see you guys soon. We all love you. The Packers are in the playoffs. Until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go.
Go Pack.